again. This is Samantha from Securely Insured, and this is Medicare on the Mind. Today, I just want to briefly touch on something that I think everyone who is aging into Medicare should be well aware of, and that is regarding predatory marketing practices. Something that maybe you're aware of because you've already started getting a stack full of flyers, letters, response cards in the mail. You're maybe getting tons and tons of phone calls already, and you're not even 65 yet. What's important to know is that pretty much everyone is on a public domain of some sort where your age is public knowledge, and there are many agents, brokers, call centers who spend a good deal of money to get your contact information. And while it's not necessarily outside of the realm of legal, there are some elements to it that you need to be prepared for, you need to be aware of. And for the most part, I'm going to go over what's allowed and what's not allowed. And then we'll just touch on some of the more predatory practices because you need to be armed and to know this. Okay, so for the sake of your maybe a few months out of turning 65, you've started getting the mailers, you've started getting lots and lots of maybe their postcards, maybe their letters, maybe they look like almost government issued response cards in your mail. These are most likely sent from a third-party marketing organization, and because they are mailed, they are in fact legal. So there is really no recourse to stop getting all the excessive mail, unfortunately. That's pretty much legally the only way that somebody can contact you regarding your Medicare plan. Typically more so with Medicare Advantage than Medicare supplements. Now, there's not much that can be done. There's no do not remove me from your mailing list, phone number to call. So unfortunately, not much can be done in that way. You may receive letters from agents, brokers, call centers, carriers, inviting you to things like Medicare 101s or what they call lunch and learns, basically opportunities to go learn about your options with Medicare. And those also are not taboo. There's really nothing wrong with those. You can choose to go, you can choose to say you're going to go and not go, or you can go. And typically you will get a broad overview of Medicare at these events. And if you like the person that is presenting them to you, you may choose to work with them, and that's fine too. Now, moving on to phone calls, that's where things start to get a little not so legal. No one is allowed to contact you regarding Medicare, regarding specifically Medicare Advantage. No one is allowed to call you unless you have given them a permission to contact of some sort. Maybe you were scrolling on Facebook and you wanted to get some more information, so you clicked on something and it put all your information into a little questionnaire. That is giving someone permission to contact you. And you might need to be aware that a lot of the times, especially with those Facebook, Instagram, social media ads of any kind, there's something in it that usually caught your eye. And If it's just a boring ad that basically is saying, hey, if you want to get some more information on what your options are, reach out to me or fill out this form and I'll reach out to you, that's okay. What is basically the downside to this is they're usually not going to be boring ads. They're going to have something in there that promises you something or gives you the idea that you're going to receive something more beneficial than you've heard of before. And a lot of the time it comes in the form of food cards or not a reimbursement, but like a some type of money card, I guess you would call it. These are not things that are something that everybody can get. Most of the time, when you are on a Medicare Advantage plan or you're enrolling in a Medicare Advantage plan and you have a level of Medicaid, so you are on the Medicare Savings Program, you are eligible for what is known as a dual special needs plan, a DSNP plan. These DSNP plans typically do get access to additional benefits beyond your dental, hearing, vision coverage, and your possible quarterly benefit card. Those are things that are pretty standard on most Medicare Advantage plans. However, on a DSNP plan, they do actually have food cards. Sometimes they can be upwards of $100 to $300 per month. And the idea is that these are for lower income households, for lower income beneficiaries, to help them afford to pay food costs, sometimes utility bills. And the problem with the predatory marketing is that when you are scrolling through Facebook, they typically will make it seem like you can get one of these cards. If you are not on Medicaid or your state's version of Medicaid, and you are not enrolled in the Medicare Savings Program, you're not going to get one of these cards, but they will entice you with an ad to basically get you to call them and in turn try to either flip your plan or promise you some other plan that might be like a, like you won the consolation prize. And it's not always terrible. It's a good thing to explore your options. It really is, because plans change year to year. So you might be eligible for better benefits under a different plan. It's always a possibility. But just know that that is probably one of the biggest marketing tactics that places will use to get you to give them permission for them to contact you, or for you to call them, or to reach out and get some type of, there's a reciprocation here. They basically want you to get in touch with them, or they want you to give them permission to get in touch with you. Now back to the calls. Calls with Medicare and Medicare Advantage specifically are a no-no unless you have given permission. So if you have gone to a Medicare 101 with somebody that you genuinely liked, wanted to work with, and they had you fill out a permission to contact form, that's okay for them to call you to discuss these things. For somebody to cold call you, that's not allowed. That's actually quite illegal. And there's things you can do to prevent that. They do require some work though. Here's the problem, is that one and done, you need to put yourself on the do not call registry. And I'm gonna link the websites for you to follow that down below in the description. Once you have put your phone number on the do not call registry, that doesn't stop them. Unfortunately, they will still keep calling. Here's why it's important. In order to put a stop to this, because there have been times where people will get 5, 6, 7 phone calls back to back to back. They all look like different phone numbers, but they're all usually the same person that's calling. They usually have fake phone numbers that have your area code in them, even though they could be calling you from a completely different state. And they have what is known as auto dialers. So they're just putting your number into all these different phone numbers that they might own and calling you with the hopes that you pick up. And that gets really annoying, like really annoying, really fast. And it happens day in, day out. They call early in the morning till all hours of the night. So like I said, the do not call list, they will still call you. Here's where you can actually do something about it. So you can make a formal complaint with the FCC. And the FCC basically is monitoring this type of behavior and trying to actively put a stop to it. So the rules of filing a complaint with the FCC is that you actually do have to answer the phone call, and what you should be doing is recording the phone number, the time that they called, the name that they told you they were, and the date that you received the phone call. You take that information, you go to the FCC's website, which again, I will link below, and you file a formal complaint. Now, whether they're calling you from their real number or not, doesn't matter, because the FCC has ways of finding out. Even if it's what's called a spoofing phone number, they can look through phone logs and they can do their due diligence and they can find out exactly who it is that's calling you. And for every infraction, they can fine that person a $10,000 fine. This is why that's important, because these people are relentlessly doing it, not just to you, but to everyone you know, to everyone you don't know. They do it all day long. And it basically is, it's harassment if you think about it. So the only way to get them and to stop them and to punish them where it hurts is through their wallet. And the number one way that I can enforce or empower people to be able to do that is by telling them, file a complaint with the FCC. You might just take out one agent or one call center or one overseas call center, because that's a whole other issue. These overseas call centers are the ones typically calling you relentlessly, and what they're doing is trying to keep you on the phone long enough in order to transfer you to an agent. Like, there's a whole underground of how this stuff works. And honestly, the best way to handle your Medicare and your plan and your situation is going to be to make a choice for yourself, not have somebody call you and bully you and, scare you into thinking, oh, you need to make a change and you need to do it right now. And people are just giving out their Medicare numbers like they're nothing. You need to guard that. If you feel like someone is prodding for information, somebody that called you, that you did not initiate the phone call, and somebody is prodding you for information and it doesn't feel right, stop giving them information. People should also be identifying themselves on the phone with their what's known as their NPN number, their national producer number. If they're not willing to give you that, hang up. There is a lot of shady tactics out there, and it's one of my biggest pet peeves. I've had call centers calling my clients, telling them that they work with me and that I'm authorizing them to, that's like the low that these people will go to. I will hear from clients saying that somebody called them and told them that they qualified for a plan and they didn't. And I've had people call my clients and tell them, oh, I just found out that your plan is exiting the market, and this will be sometime in like February. And that's not going to happen in February. It's just not. And they need to make a change right then and there. This is one of the most predatory situations. They are trying to prey on the fact that they think that you're not savvy enough to know better, that you are not able to be technology inclined enough to follow up or to just trust them. Like they take advantage of that, and it's prominent and it's a problem. So my advice is, when you are starting to think about Medicare and you are getting ready to enroll, find somebody local or find somebody that has a reputation, a good reputation, and do your homework. Most of the time you just want to set it and forget it. Somebody calls you, it feels convenient. Here's the thing, not if, but when you have a problem with your plan, you are going to want to have somebody to call. You are going to want to have somebody that does the back end work, that takes care of you and your plan. Somebody that knows what they're talking about. If you deal with a call center, you're never going to hear from the same person twice. You can't call up the call center and say, hey, I want to talk to John. Well, they'll put you on the phone with a different John. That's the problem. So working with somebody from the get-go, somebody that's going to take care of you for years to come, is your first line of defense. That's very important to have. And you really need to kind of be on the defense with these things. That's why I say, put yourself on the do not call list. File complaints with the FCC. Let's stop the madness of it all, because it's out there. And that is my Sam Talk for today. This is Samantha Jellison of Securely Insured, and this is Medicare on the Mind. I hope you have a great day and stay tuned for our next episode. Thanks.